Hello, in this video you will see how to build the top section of our app, okay? So what I mean by the top section, I mean this gradient view with this part, okay? This welcome to Node Master. And in order to do that, what we can do, we can create a new app, okay? So here we can select app and click on next. For the name of our app, we can call it Node Master, okay? So let's go ahead and type Node Master. For the interface, we want it to be SwiftUI, language Swift, but for the storage, we can choose Swift Data. But for the sake of this video, we will simply choose on none and we will add Swift Data by ourselves, okay? So here for storage, we can select none and then click next. You choose your location and then create. Okay, here we have our empty project, okay, and we have our finish app for our reference, okay? And as I said, what we want to do, we want to build this on gradient part, okay? So how do we do this? In order to do this, what we can do, we can start by adding a rounded rectangle, okay? And then we will add this gradient part, okay? So let's do that. So here, instead of this V-stack, what we can do, we can simply remove this V-stack and add a rounded rectangle. For the corner radius, we can specify it to be 25. And now inside this rounded rectangle, what we can do, we can add our gradient, okay? So what we can do here, after this rounded rectangle, we can add a property called fill, okay? And we want to fill it with our gradient colors, okay? So here, inside this fill, what we can do, we can add a linear gradient. And for the gradient colors, for now, we can simply add two colors, so green and black, okay? And here we go, we have our gradient color, okay? But here, if you notice on our finished version of the app, for the starting point, we are starting our gradient from the top leading, okay? Here we are starting from just leading. So what we can do here, instead of just leading, we can specify it to be top leading. And for the end of our gradient, we want it to be at the bottom, okay? End bottom, okay? So here, instead of just trailing, we can specify it to be bottom trailing. And as you can see, we are getting close to this final result, okay? But what we can do here, if you notice, you can see that here we have this green color, and also at the very bottom we have also this green color, okay? And in the middle we have this dark color. So yeah, I wanted to start with the green color, and I also wanted to finish with the green color. I will copy this green color and I will paste it after this black. And here what we can do, we can simply reduce the opacity, okay, because this is too green. So what we can do here on this green, we can specify that we want an opacity of that 8, and we can do the same thing for this green as well. And now for a black color, what we want an opacity of 0.7. And now to emphasize on this black color, what we can do, we can simply duplicate this black, okay, 2 times. And as you can see, we are getting close to this final result, okay? And here, maybe we can change the opacity to maybe 6. And here we go, we have the same result as our finished app, okay? Now what we want to do, we want to reduce the frame of this rounded rectangle, okay? And how can we do that? In order to do that, what we want to do, we want to specify the height of this rounded rectangle based on the font height, okay? And in order for us to get the font height, what we want to do is to wrap this into a geometry reader, okay? So let's do that. If I come here and do a right click and I embed into a V-stack, but instead of a V-stack, what I want is a geometry reader. And now that I have this geometry reader, what I can do, here I can get this geometry. And now I can come on this rounded rectangle and specify a frame, okay? So if I put that frame, and as we said for the height, what we want is half of the screen, okay? And in order to get the half of the screen, what we can do, we can simply call this on geometry. And we want to say that we want to get the size, okay? And we want to get the height from the size. And now we want to divide this by 2, okay? Let me explain this. So yeah, when we wrap this rounded rectangle inside this geometry reader, it will take the size of this whole font, okay? And now what we are saying, we want to take the size, okay? So we want to take the global size and we want to get the height, okay? And now take the height and divide this height by 2, okay? So whether we are on a small or big screen, we are supposed to get the similar result, okay? So here you can of course play with this value. So you can change it maybe to 4. And if you change it to 4, you will get smaller and smaller, okay? But for the sake of this video, we will simply divide it by 2, okay? And now what we want to do, we want to ignore this safe area, okay? So how do we do that? In order to do that, what we can do, we can come on this geometry reader, okay? And we want to specify that here For the safe area, we want to ignore the top. And by doing that, as you can see, we'll ignore the safe area at the top, okay? So now the last thing we want to do, we want to add this section, okay? We want to add this welcome to Node Master. In order to do that, what we can do, we can simply come back on this rounded rectangle, okay? And what we want to do, we want to add an overlay, okay? Because we want this view to be on top of our background, okay? So in order to do that, what we can do, we can simply come here and add this overlay property. And for the content of our overlay, what we want another rounded rectangle. And here for the corner radius, we still want this on 25. But for the frame, we don't want it to take the size of this rounded rectangle, okay? The parent rounded rectangle. So here we can specify that for the frame, what we want for the width is infinity. And we want the height to be 200. And now we can simply add a padding, okay? So here, that padding. And we can also change the background color. In order to do that, what we can do, we can simply add this fill, okay? And now for the fill, we want to fill it with the white color, but we want to reduce the opacity. So we can specify the opacity to be on 0.3. Okay, perfect. Now on top of this, we want to add this text, okay? Welcome to Node Master. So here, after this frame, what we can do, we can add another overlay. And for the content, we can add our text. And it's going to be welcome to Node Master. But here you can see that our text is black. So what we want the color white. So here after this padding, what we can do, we can specify the foreground color. And we want it to be white. Okay, perfect. Now for our text, let us add some style because as you can see here, the text is bigger. Okay, so let me on this text, what I can do, I can add the font. And I want the size to be 24 and I want it to be bold. Okay, perfect. Now we can add this second text, your personal space for capturing images. But in order to add this, we want this one to be inside a V stack, okay? So let me do a right click on this, embed inside a V stack. And now after this text, what I want to do, I want to add another text. And we can simply add the text we want. Okay, perfect. Now we can add some style to our text. The font is going to be sub headline. Okay, perfect. Now the last thing we want to do, we want to add this icon, okay? And in order for us to add this icon, what we want to do, we want to wrap this inside the H stack, okay? So here, we want to wrap this on V stack inside the H stack. So here, if I do a right click here, embed inside the H stack. Now, after this V stack, what I want to do, I want to add our image, okay? So let's go ahead and add our image. For the name, it's going to be Apple Pencil. And we want our image to be bigger. And for our font, we can specify a size of 40. Okay, perfect. Now I think between these two, what we can do, we can simply add a spacer to have some space between both of them. And we'll add some space here. And now we don't want this text to be like too close to the border, okay? So what we can do, after on this H stack, what we can do, we can add another padding. And now we want to align this text to the leading part, okay? So here on this V stack, what we can do, we can add an alignment. And for the alignment, it's going to be leading.